Well, thank you all for being with us. I hope you didn't come expecting a whole bunch of answers. And if you do, then I've recruited some ringers here. I've invited some people out there who I see on there, and a few others that couldn't make it but shared some information with me about what they're doing at their churches and how that might be helpful to some of you who are seeking answers. Some of what's being done is as simple as using good old-fashioned US mail, which is still working. Some churches will probably be able to share some of the messages they sent out, and just asking that their people respond to this disaster, which is, I mean, it is a declared disaster, and we have always responded well to disasters. So they can certainly, I know a lot of you are finding creative ways to do your online worship, and we can respond to that worship and the disaster in a myriad of ways, including, like I said, just mailing in checks. Many of the questions that people are asking relate to online giving, and hopefully some of the church representatives here will share what they are doing. Some places that you might check with, umcom.org offers some resources for online giving, so that's one place. Vanco, which is the largest online service provider within the United Methodist denomination, because they long had a relationship with GCFA, has a platform that many of you and the conference, in fact, uses. They also have a Give Plus mobile giving app that some churches are using and can talk about, that you might want to check out. There is a website called giving365.com that comes out of Cliff Christopher's group, which used to be in Arkansas. They've now, I think, merged with Texas Methodist Foundation. And they, in fact, have a document entitled Social Distancing Recurring Giving Development Plan, which you can download. Once you do, you'll, of course, be bombarded with daily emails from them, but that's not necessarily bad. If you don't want to go through that route, you can email me and I can get that to you. It is more, they view this actually as an opportunity, that if you can get people set up on recurring giving, that they find they like it and can use this as a springboard in carrying it forward once we get through this process. I wish that the conference were in a better financial position to where I could say to all the churches, don't worry about contributing apportionments, or don't worry about paying your pension or health insurance bill. And we do have cash reserves, and they're adequate to get us through for some short time period, maybe even up to a year. But they're not adequate enough to forego total giving. I understand everybody's going to be challenged, and we'll just all have to do what we can. But we can share resources, and some things that we are willing and able to do at the conference level is we're willing, if you need help in setting up some online giving at your church and don't have the expertise, to pay people to help you do that. A couple of people we've made verbal commitments to, and you can contact them, they can do the work for you, and they'll bill us. One is David Topping, who used to be our part-time IT person. The other is on this call, Rob Reinders, and he's already helped some of the churches even before we said we would pay him. So I'm sure he'll retroactively bill us for those churches, but he has been very helpful and knowledgeable. So that's one thing. The other thing is, if you need immediate help and you just want to start collecting online right away without setting it, or while you're setting it up, we are set up at the conference level. If you want to refer people to dscumc.org/payments, people can contribute to there, indicate what church they're contributing for, and I will collect those and forward them on to you as soon as I get them. So while you're doing this, if you want to offer that up, we're welcome. We're willing to process that. Finally, I want to mention two other possibilities that to keep in the back of your mind. I'm not sure how quickly some of these will come about, but it might be pretty quickly in some cases. One is the stimulus bill that's been passed by the Senate and that's in the House right now, includes provisions for Small Business Administration, or SBA, you might have heard, loans. And those loans will include churches as long as they're under 500 employees. These loans are to help you maintain payroll for, I think it's up to 2.5 months. And I understand that those loans can be converted, can be forgiven and basically converted to grants if you retain your employees. So it's not been passed by the House yet, so it's not final. I don't have final details. I'm sure GCFA or WestPath will be providing some guidance, and I'm keeping my eye out for that. So I'll get that out as soon as I can, but keep that in the back of your mind as one source of funding.
Randy?
Yeah.
It also includes mortgage, rent, and utilities.
That they can use the loan.
Yeah. And so long as you keep all your employees on during, I think up until June 30th, it'll just convert to a grant. But even if for some reason it doesn't, the interest is like 2.75, and you can pay it back. You don't have to make a payment for a year, I think, and then you can pay it back over 10 years. So it's pretty generous, I think.
That should happen very soon, in addition to the individual relief that, we will be able to hopefully get those checks or direct deposits coming out. This should help many of our churches. The second thing I wanted to mention is that each church, through its own church mutual insurance policy, has $100,000 of business interruption insurance coverage. You can file a claim for that. I wouldn't rush out to do that because you don't know what the true impact is going to be until we're kind of through it a little bit. But I know that it's out there. My expectation is that Church Mutual is going to be flooded with claims on this, so they are going to beat up the claims quite a bit. They're probably going to be looking at what are your revenues now versus what are they normally, and I'm not sure how they would look at normal. Is that last year? Is that last month? Is that 10 years? And were you able to save any expenses in the meantime to get down to a net figure? But if your church would have a significant drop in giving, which we hope we can not have with some of these things we'll talk about today, but if you would, that is one potential thing to look at. Just keep in mind, you need to make the claim this year because it's on a claims made basis, and we are going to be switching from Church Mutual after December 31st to Brotherhood Mutual.
Can you say a little bit more about how you would make that claim with Church Mutual?
File the claim with their claims department the same way you would if you had a fire, the same way if you had a slip and fall. You can do it online. You can call. If you go to churchmutual.com, you can get their 800 number and file a claim. I don't have like a form from them that says, here's the form you fill out for business interruption insurance. But I have confirmed with them that we do have the coverage.
So Sharon just put a good tip in the chat, sending 8 prepaid envelopes to every member. The biggest thing to think of is, well, there's two big things. One way is think about decreasing expenses, which nobody ever likes to talk about. And in fact, people usually yell at me when I suggest that. So, but it really is something, if you haven't looked at it really hard, it's time to do that. And Two, I know a lot of pastors want to decrease expenses in general and get a lot of pushback, and this could be a time to, help move that conversation forward. But, there's always a lot of subscriptions and services and things that are nice to have that might make our jobs a little easier, but are certainly not necessary to, paying our folks. So that's where I always ask people first to think about, and then also think about you as a leader. You can't ask other people to sacrifice until you're also willing to sacrifice. So decide what you as a leader are going to do. And again, everybody hates hearing this part, but this is stuff Melissa and I have done at different times in financial crisis and in ministry. And it's just really, really hard to ask your folks to give if you're not willing to go over and above as well. And, for pastors, that can mean if the church is covering your health insurance portion, maybe you pay that for at least a couple months, not the full premium, but, if they pay your $200 or $300 a month for your participant portion, cover that. Don't spend out of your expense account. Increase your pledge, prepay your pledge, make an extra one-time gift, do something. And then don't think about, if I just blast a online giving link out to people, that people are going to just automatically give. That doesn't work. It's sort of, I've worked with churches where they were in financial crisis and the first thing they want to do is just go and make an appeal on Sunday. That won't work. You'll get a few dollars, but not as much as if you strategically think about how to go about this. And one is, again, start with yourself. What are you willing to sacrifice? And then go to your lead givers and your key leaders in your church. And really, before you're even asking them for anything, I hope everyone's just, pastoring their folks and checking in with people, responding to needs that are out there, and caring for folks first. And I think that's really key. But when it does come time to ask for help, be specific in what you're asking for and go to those key givers and key leadership and say, hey, this is what I'm doing as a leader, and I want to invite you to join me in this time of crisis, to be generous as well. And, usually folks who are doing pretty well are prepared for times like this and may even be in an industry where, that's doing pretty well right now, like the grocery industry or something else, or people just have other assets that they have for times of crisis. So don't think that everybody in your church can't give right now, because I think people are looking for opportunities to be generous, and there's a lot of people out there asking folks to be generous, and your church should be doing that as well. So after you started with yourself, gone to your key givers and key leadership, then you can go to the rest of your leadership and ask them to buy in. And then after you have all of your leadership bought in and commitments to help out during this time, then you can go to your congregation. And I think the key thing to do there with the online giving is you have to help people get signed up for online giving. You have to have online articles, maybe even send a letter in the mail. This is what we did at Sanctuary last year, where we're trying to get more and more people on online giving. We sent a letter that was focused only on signing up for online giving. We included the form in there that you fill out to put your checking or credit card authorization on there, and any other information. We said, bring this back to church or to the church office. In this case, you could put a pre-addressed stamped envelope in. You could do this in conjunction with those prepaid envelopes as well, if people want to send in checks and stuff instead. But don't sort of bury those links and that ask in your weekly email that has 27 other things in it. It just, people aren't going to click on it and do that action. Send them a very specific ask, and be very clear that leadership has stepped up. You have stepped up as a pastor in this time, and we're asking other folks to step up, but also to reach out if you need help, to let us know how the church can help. So Beth has, what about adding a button for Facebook Live or Facebook donations? So yeah, you could add a Facebook donate button. It's a There's a little bit of heavy lifting involved, and that's where I can help. You have to verify your page as long as you have a business page set up on Facebook already. Then you have to verify it, and you can't verify it until that page has been active for 7 days. In some cases, I think as long as you're on GuideStar already, which is a nonprofit online database, then it might automatically verify you. In other cases, you have to upload a bunch of paperwork. And then after you get verified, then you can apply for the Facebook nonprofit tools. And then you have to upload some more paperwork and do some more verifying type things. And for that, you'll probably need a group ruling letter from the denomination. And there's a link and a website that you can go to get that. That's very easy to get. And that will also automatically add you to GuideStar. And after all that's done, I actually submitted for one church a few days ago for the nonprofit tools, and I still haven't heard anything back from, let me look at my email right now. I have not heard anything back from Facebook, and that's typically longer. Usually it only takes them a day or two to tell you you've been approved, or if they need more information. So that tells me that they're probably pretty backed up right now. Work on adding a Facebook donate button, and then that way you can do Facebook fundraisers as well. But it's probably going to take a couple weeks to get all that going. In the meantime, if you just need quick online giving service, tithe.ly is a super easy service. You can be up and running in just a few minutes as long as you have your EIN, employer identification, tax ID number for your church, and all your banking information. Set up a church on them the other day, did it in less than 10 minutes. And they had a live link that we tested, and you can make one-time and recurring donations. So you want to have all that set up before you go about and do your ask. But this is a great time to strategically get as many people on that automated giving as possible, because you're not going to be passing a plate on Sunday morning for a while, and this will just help stabilize that cash flow and income stream. But again, you got to stabilize things first. What are you going to sacrifice? And then what are you asking from your key leaders and key givers to help out with right now to stabilize your finances? And then go work on those long-term and medium-term strategies to get people signed up for online giving.
Rob, those are all great comments, suggestions. One of the easiest, fastest ways, though, that you don't want to forget is something that people are already doing for many of their own home finances, and that's bill pay. So a lot of people are probably already paying many of their mortgage payments, car payments, health insurance payments, utilities through their bill pay. And here at First Church, we get at least a dozen bill pay checks every single week from people that are already set up on their Chase or Bank of America or wherever they bank. And that's really something they already do, very easy to do, and they can set that up for recurring, and they can set it up for one-time giving or however they do their bills through the month. So very easy and very little to know, other than reminding them to do that and kind of encouraging them to do that. It's very easy for someone to get started on that. Here at First Church, we've been on Vanco services since 2003. So we have a lot of history with Vanco, have been tracking very well with them on a monthly basis. We get anywhere from 25 to 30% of our monthly operating giving electronically through Vanco, and I don't even count in the bill pay giving through that. So Vanco is an awesome, very reliable way for people to give weekly, monthly, quarterly, however they have it set up. They can direct where their giving is going to different funds, but it's very reliable. Fortunately, we've been on it for so long, it's just something that our people do, and it's continuing to be successful for us. When this all started about 2 weeks ago, we were very upfront with our entire congregation about finances. And in our letter from our senior pastor, Denny Silk, in addition to worship activities, meetings, administration, and other things in that direct communication with our congregation, he was very upfront and blunt about expenses and finances and giving. And if you want to see any of that communication, our website is firstchurch.church. And we're continuing to just put all of our communication on our events page. So the language is there if you want to see it. And we use Give Plus as the mobile app. And we have the introductory video that Vanco provided for that on our media page on our website. Give Plus is very easy to set up. And they've done a perfect job on the promotional video. And it even makes it sound, as you watch it, like it's your church and not an outside third-party vendor. So that they use the language that it's your church app. We talk about bill pay and the different links that we have at different places on our website. But just don't forget about bill pay. It's probably the easiest thing that everybody is already using, or many people are already using.
Russ, we have a question. Is there a monthly payment for Vanco, and how much is it?
Okay, Vanco has different fees for different kinds of payment vehicles. ACH, which is bank to bank, your checking account to our checking account, is the lowest fee structure. And you'd have to work that out or see how Vanco can set that up for you. But ACH, which is Automated Clearinghouse, is the cheapest or lowest fee transaction cost from Vanco. First Church has always and will continue to not accept Visa and MasterCard credit card transactions, but Vanco is very easily set up to allow debit card transactions. First Church has been a Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University church for a long time teaching those courses, so we have never accepted credit card transactions for contributions or tuition payments to our school, but we strongly encourage debit cards. So on the Give Plus, they can set up your Visa and MasterCard transactions or through the Vanco normal service to filter out, and it explains that to the donor that debit card transactions are accepted and we don't accept credit cards. So that's an option that we've chosen, but other churches may choose differently. That's just something that we do. So fees are different. And again, the bill pay is the easiest, cheapest, probably already in your congregation's household bill paying routine, and that costs you nothing. It's a check that comes in the mail like anybody else would pay. And a lot of banks provide that as a free service with their checking account. A lot of different options there.
At the conference level, since we accept some fairly large payments through Vanco, like for a user group that goes to one of our camps or something, it generally averages about 2.5% the total fees. That's anybody else willing to share what they are doing? Or
I was just going to add, Randy, that don't get hung up on fees, because the fact that you have people making, on automated bill pay or automated giving through Vanco or Tidely or whatever will make up for, you'll end up getting more money than you would have even after the fees, if that makes sense, just because people will not miss payments and go on vacation and forget to write a check and stuff like that.
right, and it's obviously better to get 98% or something than 100% of nothing.
Exactly, yeah. But a lot of people still get real hung up on the fees.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Rob. We can't in this time worry that much about that. Tony, I saw you pop up there. Did you have a question?
No, I don't have a question. I will tell you what we are doing. We are very limited. And we are encouraging people to continue to mail the checks. And we strongly told them to use bill pay. Right now, that is our only alternative until we find a different way that we can put on the website a connection to one service.
Great. How is it? Have they responded so far?
The problem with bill pay is that they are running behind 1 week. So we started last week and we don't know anything until maybe Tuesday or Wednesday this coming week. Usually bill pay, there is a delay in some banks. Other banks, they may have 2 or 3 days delay, but in some banks usually is 1 week.
There's a lot of information. I really agree with Rob had mentioned about the fee, and you did too. We chose a long time ago to, if that's the preference for people to give on credit cards, we'll take the 98% all day long. Our recurring gifts, we have about half of them on credit card, a little more than a quarter on ACH, and the rest on bill pay. So, our members, it's a lot easier to pull out a credit card number. They usually have that in their wallets. They're not carrying checkbooks, and so they have to go and hunt that out. So it's a lot easier. We're also seeing somewhat of an increase in giving through qualified charitable distributions through IRAs, and then also charitable gift funds. If you can push that, I don't know if that's not an urgent call, but for people that have IRAs that I guess is now 72, that they can give, they can make their RMD payment out of the IRA, and that's very helpful, especially since they raised the standard deduction so high. People should really look at that. We had about close to half of our giving is through either recurring through credit card, ACH, bill pay, and these IRAs. We have some people that are doing monthly payments out of their charitable gift funds or IRAs. That takes a while to build up. We've been pushing recurring giving for a long time. We do pledge cards campaign every year, and we put that on the card. We ask for that every year. And we just shifted to push pay for our giving platform. It has a great look on the website and the mobile side for giving, but still a lot of our people don't want to deal with it, so we're happy to set it up for them, and that's why we keep it on our pledge card information. I have seen Tithely and another is a smaller church. They were balking. They didn't want to do that. They didn't want to keep with their old ways, but it works great. I used it. I set it up. It is very simple. The interface to the members looks great. I've never seen the back end to know how that gets integrated into any other church software, but that's a great option, and I think it's pretty inexpensive.
Still receiving the bill pay checks and other just regular checks at the office? Is anybody going in and picking those up like periodically?
I've been going in every day. I don't know how churches can get around not going in and picking up mail and checks, because those have to be processed.
Hopefully, if you are going in to do that work, that it's pretty safe for you.
Yeah, we set up remote access to our accounts and emails and stuff, so direction was given to, unless you have to come in, stay home. And so it's pretty much just been the administrative people that are in the office now.
So we all know that one language doesn't speak to everyone, so we really need to understand the internet banking, online banking, bill pay, texting to give, credit card giving. One solution's not going to solve this issue for everybody. So here at First Church, we just try to think of our entire congregation as we would as they're sitting here or watching from home or watching from out of state, and just trying to throw as many hooks in the water and a wide net to communicate to all of our people. And in addition to that, many of our congregation members and many of yours, they love their church and they love their staff and they love the ministries that they're not being able to do themselves. So staying connected, staying in a direct communication with them, not just by email, but picking up the telephone. The only way that you're going to be able to stay connected with your people is to keep that connection alive and going. When people know that they're being cared for, that they know they're being heard, they know that their church is there working and doing and seeing that things are being done and that people are providing the ministry that they would be doing if they were down here too, having their classes, encouraging them in different ways, just staying connected. That's what's going to keep the church together. We try to do that in telephone calls. We have a committee called our Congregational Care Committee that usually does care center, hospital, and home visits. They're not doing those in-person visits now. So our congregational care team that's made up of about 12 different people, they have a list of our entire membership, and they are splitting that entire list among all of them. We also have a connections committee that normally does Sunday morning connection type things. So they've taken pages of that list, and they are calling every single person in our congregation, constituents, affiliates, associates, actives, you name it. So every single person in our active connected directory is going to get a phone call. And not only does that let them know, that the congregation know that their church is here and still a church, it gives us an opportunity to hear what they need. So maybe they need grocery shopping done. Maybe they need toilet paper. Maybe they need runs to Walgreens or wherever. It gives us a connection with that too. Plus, they know that the church is still a church and it's not just on hold.
Sharon Scanlon from Vista de la Montaña has been sharing quite a bit on there since she doesn't have audio. But Rob mentioned one of the things was that they had sent out the prepaid envelopes for people to return with just physical checks if they wanted to. And they've got the permit from the post office to print those. And so they're only charged as they're returned. So, you know, versus if you'd send out stamped envelopes, obviously you're paying for that, whether they use them or not. They are also doing the calling every member.
Rob, I totally get what you're saying about not just throwing a link on an email in terms of having that be the option and being done with it, et cetera, et cetera. I'm having a number of folks here asking how they can get a donation in online relatively soon.
Mhm.
And what I heard Randy say this morning in terms of the conference link, that would be an option, but that we would follow that up with a more comprehensive plan, within the next week or two. I mean, do you think that would be counterproductive, or do you think, that's a temporary thing and then we follow up with something more comprehensive?
Oh yeah, let me clarify. Don't not put the link in the email, but don't put it in there and think that people
That
are
it's
going
done.
to find it and give or whatever. You definitely want to, anywhere and everywhere you can put the link where it's appropriate, do that, but you have to have some strategy.
Sure.
I think of this really like it's a modified, annual campaign or stewardship campaign. Again, you have to get yourself and then all your leadership bought in, and you create a strategy with a stewardship team, or your finance team, or whatever. And, most of church pledges are made well before that pledge Sunday, because you've already done that work with your key givers and your key leadership. And then, the last 10% of pledges or whatever you're actually getting on that Sunday. Sure, everyone's bringing their pledge cards up or whatever, but you've already done 2 months of work with your leadership. And so
Right.
Make sure everybody has an opportunity and have invitations, but don't just have a link and put it on a website and expect people will find it on their own.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Thanks.
Any other sharing or questions? But yeah, Tom, if you wanted to say if they wanted to give immediately so we could get it to the church, they can do the conferences. We'll get it probably the day after they do it, and then I can get funds out to you, that next day. So, it's still be 2 or 3 days.
Tom, if you call me right after this, I'll set you up with Tidely in 10 minutes.
Yeah. And that may be faster because you'll get it. You'll take us out as a middleman. I just went off of that. Our service is up for those people who can. If people want to utilize Rob, contact him by phone and He'll share right now and he'll build the conference. Go ahead, Rob.
Ann Leiter had shared a resource last night because she wasn't going to be able to be on this call. And I posted the document outlined in the chat, but their church just finished their stewardship campaign. So they were kind of already in the financial mindset. But she did send out an ask letter letting people know these are the staff we're continuing to employ. These are the expenses we have. This is what we are going to need in order to maintain our staff during this time. She said at least for the first week that has worked. So I know that Rob said this. I know a number of you have said this. Don't be afraid to make the ask and to let your people know that your church is still quote unquote open for business. It's just doing business differently.
I'm from Scottsdale United Methodist Church. So, hi Beth. Anyways, when we sent the letter out, we sent it via email, but we sent it also physically to people who didn't have email. And we sent a pre-addressed envelope for them to send back. And that really helped out quite a bit. We even told them they could drop it off at the church.
And Mary, you guys have also been doing, do you know anything about the giving you've been doing in your parking lot after the radio services?
This will be our first week doing it. So we'll see how that goes. Our plan is to have a basket, and we're going to have a pole that we stick out into the cars to see how that goes. So this will be our first week doing it. We are also doing Tithely. And then I was talking with Christina yesterday, and we have set up a giving button on Facebook. So anytime we're Facebook Live, people will see a donate button.
We do we have a weekly e-news blast. We'll send out notices when we decided to, close our physical campus for a while. We also sent out a postcard to everybody. Is anybody able to segment their members as far as, these people look at their email, these people maybe have an email but don't look at it, these people don't have emails? I mean, we know who has an email or not, but we always want to make sure, and we've chosen just to over communicate, so we're doing both email and physical mail to everybody. But does anybody have a process or methodology to segment who would rather get physical mail versus an email?
Mickey, do you guys use what church management system do you guys use?
We just shifted over to PCO, Planning Center Online.
Oh yeah,
we're doing that for our membership reporting, and then we're still using Shelby for the financial.
Okay. So in a lot of the newer church management softwares, you can create tags to help, and which are basically a way to create segments. And if you use like MailChimp or Constant Contact, you should be able to look. You can kind of dig into the newsletters you're sending out, and it'll show you who's opening them and then who never opened them, and you can pull some data that way. But I kind of like your idea of right now just hit everybody, both methods, online and through the mail, and that way you won't miss anyone.
Jane was asking, is anybody planning any sort of appeal related to the $1,200 checks that are supposedly forthcoming out of the stimulus bill? Saying, here's a good way you could use some of them. Or is that viewed as being for personal necessities like toilet paper?
Let me say what I was going to suggest to our finance committee, that we send out a message indicating from the first place that they consider tithing that amount of money, and also that the fortunate people whose incomes have not decreased consider giving a large part of that to either our community assistance team or to some other way. It'll go to those fewer who are, basically who've lost their income.
Yeah, I mentioned we had a Zoom finance meeting last night, and I mentioned that. Is that going too far across the line? And I got it was kind of a lukewarm response on that, not knowing if that's pushing it. There was some people saying that, if you're over the income level, you're not going to get it. So would it be better to phrase it as though, if you have any windfall receipts or income, consider the church in that, but not specifically the $1,200?
I think that we get the message.
We are going to do something pushing that, but in a different way. The idea is to set up a fund for the people that do receive nothing from the government. Use some part of that money to set up that fund and help people who are homeless here or people that they don't receive any money.
If they have not submitted tax returns for 2019 or 2018, they will probably not get anything. So suggest to those people who have too low of an income to have a tax liability to go ahead and quickly turn in a tax return for 2019.
And I also read that if you're receiving Social Security, though, that they can have your information that way, in addition to the tax returns. But if you don't do any of those three, then you're probably tough. Continue to stay connected. There are lots of different ways that we can ask people to respond. Some can be done very quickly. Some might be a little longer term, but I think that people do still want to respond, as Russ was saying. This still is their church. And it's times like these where we've historically stepped up great. So again, hopefully you've picked up something. If you need some help in any of the mechanics, particularly if you may be a smaller church or not staffed, Rob or David can help you. If you needed any of the links to any of the websites that were mentioned, feel free to email or contact me or Beth, and we can get those for you. And again, we'll try to get information out as soon as we see the details on the loan, the SBA loans that can be converted to grants, because I think that could help every church to some extent. And then as we kind of get through it, I'm thinking summer to early fall might be a good time to revisit the church mutual business interruption claim filing process, because by that time, hopefully the dust will have settled and be easy to quantify. But if some church needs to go earlier and be the guinea pig, or if the conference is the guinea pig, because we'll certainly, if for nothing else, lose the income, for example, from our camps, which are shut down. And I'm sure the apportionment sheets will be down. So we could be the guinea pig on the filing and see what they do and share that. But once we find out how they're processing those claims, whether it's from the conference or churches, we'll get that word out as well. The webinar next week, there is going to be one on Wednesday, April the 1st at 10 a.m. That's going to involve our conference chancellor and myself, mainly the conference chancellor, Marilee Clark, on the legal aspects of the stimulus bill, the act that's already come out, requiring paid sick time and that sort of stuff. She'll go over the requirements for that. And then hopefully we'll have some more definitive information to share on everything that's included in the bill that will hopefully be passed today by the House. So keep your eye out for that. Beth, will you be sending out links, or how will that get effort, or should they just go to the website to pick up that information?
Yeah, and Rob just said they passed it. Yay, the stimulus bill has passed.
Great.
Very cool. It's an Easter miracle. So if you would like to register for the legal webinar, go online to the same place where you've registered for all of these webinars. You will find a big button that will help you register for that. So we invite you to register. It'll automatically email you a link. I think that we've set it so that we can hold up to 500 people. I would be shocked if 500 people came to a legal webinar. But we definitely, I know, right? It could happen. And we definitely are trying to target like your church finance chairs, your pastors, your lay leaders, your trustee chairs, to try to answer your question. And all of the resources that we've shared here today, we're constantly updating our website and trying to find better ways to make sure you get this stuff right away. But you can find these links and resources. Some of them are already up on that dscumc.org/worship-online. If you scroll down to the webinar community conversation area, you will find the recordings as we get them rendered and published. And you will also find the resources that have been shared during those webinars. So we are community conversations. If there's ever anything that you see that should be there that isn't, please email either myself or Christina. I'm at BRAMBIKUR@dscumc.org, and Christina is cdillabo@dscumc.org, and we're happy to get those things added.
The legal will be probably part webinar, will be some presentation of information, but it'll be largely conversation like this where we can ask questions or share. I mean, I think that's how we're going to get through all of this is to sharing.
Quick question.
Yes, go ahead, Antoinette.
Is those buttons that we put in live stream when we are preaching, those buttons on donation, are those reliable? I really don't know how to set up that, or if reliable, or I can trust them, or how that's go. I really don't know.
If you set up the Facebook donation button, that's, yeah, it's very reliable. That's through Facebook directly. You know, I don't know how much people use them, but, you know, again, just having it there can be helpful. Yeah, there's just they're kind of difficult to set up. And again, that's where I can help if you want help setting up a Facebook donate button.
Okay.
Okay. And feel free to reach out to Rob, Antoinette. He can help.
So I appreciated Russ. He said, could you please just email us? So what we'll do is we will email all of you who registered for this a link directly to where that video is.
You know, I get disheartened a lot, but it's uplifting to see how we respond, not just financially, but just pulling together and sharing resources in times of need. Thank you all. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye all.